Pillager. The Pillager was first added in the Village and Pillage update and is part of the Illager family. They are considered the weakest and most common type of Illager, total noobs. These hostile guys carry crossbows, which they can use about every 5 to 6 seconds to deadly effect. These bloodthirsty Illagers will attack players, villagers, iron golems, and even wandering traders, because they don't like it when people just mind their own business. Well, actually, according to the lore, they used to be part of the villager community, but were driven out, causing their hatred. Also, they can call for backup like the zombie when in a fight, calling for other nearby pillagers to help them. Pillagers can be found in various locations, first in outposts. You'll often find tall wooden towers in plains, deserts, and taiga biomes. These are pillager outposts, the home turf of the pillagers. They guard a loot chest stashed at the top if you consider beetroot seeds loot, and the whole place acts as a mini base of operations for their chaos. Outside of these outposts, pillagers also spawn in what's known as patrols, roaming groups that wander the world. In Java Edition, they can show up in groups of 1 to 5, but no matter the size, there's always a patrol captain leading them. Lastly, pillagers also appear during raids, large-scale assaults triggered when a player with the bad omen effect enters a village. In these raids, pillagers make up the front lines using their crossbows to harass both players and villagers. When defeated pillagers have a chance to drop their crossbow and arrows, yay! Another fun fact about these guys is that if they use their crossbow enough, it actually can break, just like it can for the player. If broken, they put their arms to their sides and no longer attack, acting as a passive mob, though they still cause villagers to be afraid and still earn the ire of iron golems. I think they are just scared without their crossbows. Vindicator. The Vindicator, added in the Exploration update, that's 1.11 for the trivia nerds, is also part of the main Illager family. They are considered much more brutish than their Pillager counterparts. Instead of a crossbow, these guys wield a deadly iron axe, and I mean it this time. They are deadly. Instead of firing from a distance, these guys sprint at you full speed with their iron axe. They also appear in raids, usually in the later waves, acting like the Illager version of heavy infantry. They can also be found in woodland mansions if you somehow manage to actually find one. And if you're on Bedrock Edition, you can find them sometimes hanging out in patrols. When killed, Vindicators can drop their iron axe and a few emeralds if you're lucky. They also have a secret Easter egg. When named Johnny with a name tag, they suddenly become crazed and will attack anything in sight except for other pillagers. They will even try to fight the Ender Dragon if given the chance. Yeah, these guys are crazy, but what's worse is they will even attack their own friends attacking Ravagers. Oh, and they will attack your pet mobs too, so thanks Notch. Evoker. The Evoker is kind of like the big boss of the Illager group. These guys don't use weapons, they use magic. And if you're not ready for them, well, you're either hitting the respawn screen or sprinting in the other direction. Evokers can be found in woodland mansions and show up in the later waves of village raids. They're easily one of the strongest threats, right up there with the Ravager mini-boss. Unlike the melee-focused Vindicator, the Evoker stays back and casts spells. He has two main attacks, the Fang attack and the Vex summon. The Fang spell spawns rows of sharp teeth that erupt from the ground in a line or circle around you, dealing heavy damage if they connect. His summon ability spawns 3 Vexes, flying, wall-phasing mobs that swing iron swords and are genuinely some of the most annoying things to fight. They hit hard, zip around constantly, and feel nearly impossible to land a hit on. The only upside? They despawn after 30 seconds. The downside? If the Evoker is still alive, he'll just summon more. Evokers drop a Totem of Undying when killed, which is one of the most powerful items in the game. It revives you upon death with a few hearts, giving you a second chance. Of course, the community found ways to farm raids for infinite totems, so now everyone's basically immortal. Just when Minecraft mobs were starting to get challenging. Outside of combat, the Evoker has one weird passive spell, turning blue sheep red. No real use, no extra drops, it just happens. Because why not? Raid Captain? The Raid Captain is not technically a unique mob on its own, but more of a role. Pillagers, Vindicators, and Evokers can all technically be a Raid Captain, but it's most commonly seen from Pillagers. Raid Captain Illagers have an ominous banner strapped to their back that shows their position as leaders. When defeated, Raid Captains drop something called an ominous bottle, which, sounds super trustworthy. And naturally, if you drink this definitely not suspicious potion, you get the bad omen effect. Yeah! Who would have guessed that chugging a glowing bottle labeled ominous would have consequences? Anyway, this effect will cause a village raid the next time you enter the proximity of a village, causing waves and waves of Illagers to attack the village and the villagers inside it. So either you drank a potion labeled Ominous Bottle without knowing, or you doomed a village on purpose. Hooray. But hey, I'm not here to judge your moral compass. I know most of you want to see what happens when things go south anyway. So, if you're looking to find a raid captain, the easiest way is by locating a patrol. Every patrol always includes one raid captain, so just look for the guy with the banner. It will always be a Pillager, cause I guess being the bottom of the barrel of Illagers made them have a little too much ego. Well, unless you're on hard mode Bedrock Edition, then it will be a Vindicator. Illager outposts will also always spawn 1 to 3 Pillager raid captains if you have one of those nearby. Illusioner. The Illusioner is a Java-exclusive Illager that doesn't spawn naturally in the game. You can only summon him using commands with /summon Minecraft :Illusioner because I guess Notch decided to lock the cool stuff behind dev tools. Like other Illagers, the Illusioner attacks players, villagers, iron golems, and wandering traders. He uses a bow as his main weapon, but also has 2 magic abilities that make him stand out: blindness and illusions. He can temporarily blind the player and also create 4 fake copies of himself, making it harder to tell which one is real. While you're swinging at the clones, he's still shooting you from a distance. He's not part of raids, doesn't spawn in mansions, and has no use in the base game outside of commands. Which is kind of weird because he's fully functional and has some of the most unique mechanics in the entire Illager lineup. Definitely worth messing around with in creative, even if he's technically not part of normal survival. Ravager. The Ravager is the strongest Illager-type mob. Yes, it isn't technically classified as an Illager, but they might as well be. These massive beasts are like the tank and final boss of raids. They are only seen during raids and only from the 3rd wave onward. They don't have any weapons, as they use their body as a massive weapon like a battering ram. They will charge at players, villagers, and iron golems, dealing heavy knockback and damage on contact. They can also break through certain blocks like leaves and crops, which means your village is no longer safe. Though if they crush your beetroot farm, that's honestly doing you a favor. Also, if you're on Bedrock, they can also unleash a roar attack, which disables shields for a few seconds, making them even more dangerous. And sometimes, Ravagers can spawn with a Pillager or Evoker riding on top of them, creating a Ravager Jockey, an even more deadly version of the Ravager, which might as well classify as a boss at that point. When defeated, they only drop a saddle. Yeah, you heard that right. For all your effort in defeating one of the strongest mobs in the entire game, there is no cool gear, no special Ravager item, just a normal saddle. Which, I guess is fine. Ravager Jockey. The Ravager Jockey isn't a unique mob per se, however, it's a unique variant of the Ravager with a rider. This monstrosity appears during raids when a Ravager decides it's tired of doing all the work and lets an Illager hop on for a ride. Usually it's a Pillager or an Evoker riding the Ravager, and yes, it's as horrifying as it sounds. The Ravager does all the charging and smashing, while the Pillager on its back fires crossbow bolts like it's in some kind of medieval drive-by. If it's an Evoker up there, you've basically got a magical tank coming at you. These beasts typically spawn later in the wave. Notch decided to be a little nicer, and if you're really lucky, read unlucky, you might even get multiple jockeys in one wave. Their coordination isn't exactly Olympic level. Sometimes the rider will shoot their own mount, but hey, who said evil had good aim? At least it's better than Stormtrooper aim. When you finally manage to take them down, they'll drop the usual Ravager loot, a saddle, and any drops from the Illager riding it. No special rewards for the tag team effort, it just works as stated by Todd Howard. Still, the Ravager Jockey is easily one of the most intimidating raid combos in the game. Vex. The Vex is the tiny flying menace summoned by Evokers during raids or in woodland mansions. They might look small, but they are ridiculously strong for their size. These guys fly, phase through blocks, and hit with iron swords, dealing way too much damage. Once summoned, they immediately target players, villagers, and iron golems. They're fast, hard to hit, and don't care about walls. You can't hide from them, they'll just fly right through and start swinging. They do high damage and have a bad habit of stacking up fast if the Evoker isn't dealt with. The only real upside? They despawn after 30 seconds. But that doesn't help much when there's a new batch coming in right after. They don't drop anything, just experience orbs. No sword, no loot, nothing. Yeah, thanks Notch. Making one of the most annoying mobs to deal with give us absolutely no reward. At least their masters drop totems of undying. Witch. The Witch isn't technically an Illager, but she's like that one cousin who always shows up uninvited to family events and causes chaos anyway. While she's technically not a part of the Illager family, she's still close enough that Notch gave her a role in village raids, so she counts in my book, my video, my rules. Witches don't use weapons. Instead, they fight exclusively with potions, such as potions of poison or harming for offense, and drinkable potions like healing for defense, making them a pretty strong monster that spawns in the overworld in all biomes except the mushroom fields, and of course, raids. They are also one of the few mobs that have their own house, the Witch Hut, which spawns in swamp biomes and is usually guarded by a single witch and her black cat. Yeah, she gets a cat. Would you really hurt a poor witch with her kitty? Who am I kidding? Of course you would. In fact, many players go even beyond and turn the witch huts into automatic witch farms, which, if you don't know what that means, then, well, basically they turn the witch's cozy little swamp hut into a high-efficiency loot farm. That's right. Players will build elaborate redstone contraptions that repeatedly spawn and eliminate witches just to farm their valuable drops. And hey, with good reason. Witches have the largest loot table of any mob in the game. When defeated, they can drop glass bottles, glowstone dust, redstone, spider eyes, sugar, gunpowder, and even potions, if they were drinking one at the time. Plus, they give 5 experience orbs, making them a surprisingly rewarding target. Also, fun fact, villagers can actually turn into witches if they are struck by lightning, cause, well, ask Notch. I have no idea. Illager. The Illager isn't technically in the game, and yes, that still stings. This chilly Illager variant was one of the options in the 2020 mob vote, and it almost made it in. But then the Minecraft community collectively decided that a retextured squid that glows in the dark was more exciting. So yeah, thanks for that. The Illager was supposed to be a hostile spellcasting mob that lived in snowy mountains, lobbing chunks of ice at players like a frosty version of the Evoker. It would have added a lot of flavor and danger to the otherwise empty mountain biomes. But instead, we got the glow squid, which, let's be honest, is completely useless and doesn't even actually glow. Still, the Illager lives on in Minecraft dungeons, where it does get to shine. Sort of. There, it summons ice blocks above your head that slam down with the force of every player's disappointment. A sad reminder of what could have been.